Hello, Next Geners. Welcome to our Friday form preview show. Damien Rackliffe from The Age, joined on every episode by Hayden Byrne from Daily Sectionals. Hayden, it's been a big week for Next Gen. We had our golf day last week, and Bossy's been all out with his videos from the day, so that was a huge success. Hopefully, in the next week, I'll have a figure on how much we raised for the Good Friday appeal. And then yesterday at Kilmore, Gemma Riley got the chocolates with our boy Claymore.
Been a really big week, hasn't it? It's a lot of me time from you, I've noticed. It's a lot of the Ladbrokes, they put up their video during the week and featuring your good self. A little bit of me time from the photos on RSN, your good self in the headphones, just weaving your magic on there. And then yesterday when I watched our grand galloper, Claymore or Clattermore or Claydem Moore, or however anybody would like to pronounce it. I was sitting there waiting and I thought, okay, it's going to be really interesting to see what Gemma says. And Buffhead shows up.
Yeah, well, what happened? Well, there were only two owners there, myself and another guy who's not part of the Next Gen syndicate, but obviously in the horse. And Gemma was strapping the horse herself. He was an absolute lunatic pre-race, jumping around everywhere. Gemma was calling for the pony. Honestly, he was an absolute moron of a horse. And then, as you probably saw, Gemma watched the race next to the Racing.com boys and got pretty emotional. And when it came to the post-race interview, she said, "Damo, I think I'm going to be sick. Can you do the interview?" So quite out of the blue, but full honours to Gemma. I think Claymore is her only horse in work at the moment. Her other horses are all juveniles, so great for her. I think it's only her second winner for the season, which shows how tough it is to be a trainer with a boutique stable. But he surprised us. He paid $14. It was a great ride by Blake McDougall, and then Gemma obviously got her 10 minutes in the sun on Racing.com later. So that was great all round. We had a drink in the winners bar afterwards, the four of us that were there, and looking forward to seeing him step out next. We've also got our horse with Mitch Freeman, Guzmau, closing in on a debut. So he'll be having one more trial at Ararat this week, and then hopefully next week we see him at the races. So good time to be a part owner. But anyway, golf day was a success. Obviously, we couldn't do the podcast last week. We both ran out of time. So apologies there for our loyal followers who were hoping for All-Star Mile and Golden Slipper coverage. But we posted, obviously, we thought I'm Thunderstruck was the value play in the All-Star Mile. He ran second. The hot favourite, Zaki, just dictated terms up front. Zaki's going to meet Animo and Co. Very elegant. Some of the other, really good weight for age horses in the Queen Elizabeth. What did you make of Zaki, and how do you stack him up against Animo, who we've said all prep he's been building nicely, and what he did on the weekend was outstanding.
Yeah, well, just on the All-Star Mile, I love the race. A few people got their tactics very confused with the tactics that several employed. First off, restraining lightsaber, sitting in behind them. Did they think they were in front too early in both their guineas and their restraining guineas runs? I don't think that was that plan. Definitely didn't go to didn't go to plan. That tactic. Mr. Brightside, I think he was a little bit slow away.
Yeah.
No real speed from Streets of Avalon in terms of. His typical first section speed, that wasn't there, ridden more conservatively to get the mile. The boys in the race prior, they got some really interesting cowboy sort of tactics and had to go for the middle of the track, which confused everybody. Ollie and Lane, no early speed, didn't hold their lines early, which I thought they may do and make Zaki work across. They elected to go back and lane hunt in the straight. Made it a bit of a mess, didn't it? And the girl who just rides her horse and allows them to travel and do what they need to do and doesn't play games. It was game over about 200 metres into the race, wasn't it? Outstanding ride.
It was. Yeah, it was. And I think the question mark on Zaki was that first up, he had a really slow section and it really was a 800 metre dash in the Blamey Stakes. And if he was going to get that high exertion through the first section in the All-Star Mile, that might have been his undoing. But clearly he got it pretty comfortable, and he wasn't going to lose with that race shape. I thought I'm Thunderstruck was pretty good off the off the slow early speed, and Jai rode him well from barrier one and gave him every chance, but it was going to be hard to chase down Zaki off that. What did you make of Anamoe, and how do you line up Anamoe and Zaki when they meet in the Queen Elizabeth?
Anamoe was very good. He's just progressing beautifully. He just goes, continues to go up and up and up. He's got a big run in him, and I don't think that was the big run. I think that was just another tick of the box. James got the pace spot on. James premeditated the speed shift where the others were asleep. That was the reason for such the big margin. Wet ground's going to overemphasize those margins sometimes, so take note. The performance was nowhere near as good as what it was to the visual. The visual was just, when I watched the visual, I thought, wow, you've gone, you probably run the biggest IVR number for the season, Cox Plate included, but no, that wasn't the case. So, don't go putting him through the roof. He definitely didn't do anything like that. If it's wet ground up there, he'll blow Zaki apart. Let's not muck around. Dry ground's going to bring the other one closer to him. I'd still want to be in the Anamoe camp. I find it very difficult right now to see any of those beating Anamoe as we sit. But, racing's a funny game.
And it's always hard to predict the Doncaster this far out, but you still give Thunderstruck a chance going there?
Yeah, for sure. He's, that looks like his race. That's where he's going to get the high pressure race that he's looking for. And he's a horse who historically really comes good 4th and 5th up into a campaign. He holds that level, but he gets his opportunity to explode. And I think he's progressing better than what he was last campaign. Slowly run All-Star Mile. I thought when the gap opened, he might have been able to chase Zaki down, especially with Zaki drifting back to the fence. But it was just a little bit too big a mission. Where he couldn't do it was they fell back on top of him prior to the gap opening, which caused him just to slow ever so slightly. And that slight slowdown from him left him flat-footed when it was time to accelerate. So it was pretty much game over Zaki. It was very interesting. I took note on the weekend that those who like to beat the chest were, how could he possibly get out from barrier 1? That was going to be his undoing. Zaki was in a trap barrier from 15, so all the rubbish combined there, none of that worked. The team Pinstripe, very quiet. When he didn't have the big excuse to his name, when he got exposed, there was just not a lot of petrol in the tank. So, those who wanted to claim the Bulldust that he should have won a couple of weeks prior, they can hush with that one. And the horse who had every single excuse in the world, which was the Golden Slipper winner, was just amazing. Almost got put through the fence. That was very, very messy back there.
Yeah, you want to mention anything else about the Slipper, or happy to move on?
I thought the Slipper winner was very good. Be interesting to see how it performs. Be very difficult to see any of those turning the tables on it going into that 1,400 metre race. If something's going to beat that, it's going to have to come from somewhere else. That's the only way she probably gets beat is if she, if they spend all the petrol in the Slipper. But, that crop on wet ground, there's just not a lot there at the moment. Probably the one who could beat it is the runner-up, Bordeaux. He's a nice horse.
Okay. Let's look at tonight's William Reid, because there'll be punters out there watching this and realising the Group 1's on at Moonee Valley tonight at 9:15. We're recording at 5:30 p.m. So Marabi goes round $1.75 favourite. She won the Oakley Plate in pretty damn good style. She's a winner of 7 from 7. She's $1.75 from Generation at 8. A September run at 13, ran 3rd in the Newmarket. Kemal Parza at 15. Astrologist was 2nd in the Newmarket. He's also 15. And Jonker won the Manikato, this track and distance, in the spring. He's 19, trekking 23, standout 27.
You couldn't bet against it, could you?
No, I don't think she's going to go to that +4 that she put up in the Oakley Plate. I think 1100 is probably her best distance. 1200 might just be a little bit on her range, but she still put up a 3 at this track and distance 2 starts back. And I think if she puts up a 3 from the front again tonight, I can't see who's going to push that. I think Trekking might be the one at value that does have those sort of numbers in his range, but they're in races like the Everest where there's usually really good pace up front. The Moya, I think he put up a 2.7. So I could see Trekking maybe at a bit of value running a place, but yeah, I can't be tipping against Marabi here.
Well, I could see her going to the 4, not a problem in the world. I could see her even breaking that 4. You go back to that run you did mention 2 starts back at the Valley where she went 3.3 lengths above that best of the night. She pretty brutal slowdown there between the 6 and the 4, and the effort to re-accelerate combined with the fact that she was so far in front where you could take the pressure off a little bit, and the last 200 could be a little bit softer than what it should be. That give every indication that she can go to the 4. And if there's a track she's going to run a big one at, it's this one.
Yeah.
This is the sort of place where she could post a monster number. So, I just couldn't see, everywhere you look, there's a number of horses there who could push the level. Trekking, as you mentioned, horses like September Run, even a horse like Generation could push that level. We know Standout's a big boy when he gets going. Just hasn't, he's just been a bit plain Standout. He's one I always go and look for, especially from a first 3 perspective, and normally thrives in races like this. So they can all do it, but there's big reasons why they can't, whether that historical starting, it's starting to slip a little bit too far away. And on recent profile, that 2 level seems about them. So Generation's the one that has the upside. And, Standout's a sort of horse in this sort of race where you'd get excited from a first 3 perspective, but you'd want a big push from the yard because these last 2 haven't been that good.
And Generation put up that really big number this track and distance on Cox Plate Day, so that would explain why he's so well found in the market as well. He's $8, but he's second favourite.
Yeah, the ride was really weird last start at Caulfield. Negative 5.5 first section basically gave the horse no chance whatsoever. The squeeze was enormous, 11 lengths. High pressure mid, really strong, sustained last 800. So he's untapped. He could go in. He could push that level. He could get a little bit closer to Marabi than what many may think.
So are you betting at all?
No, I would be lucky to even turn it over from the footy, mate.
Yep. Okay.
I'll watch the replay tomorrow.
One of our favourites, though, Flying Mascot, goes around in race 4, the Sunline Stakes. She's $1.60. Geez, we love this mare, don't we?
She's a ripper. She's a beauty. She was the one that, been banging on all along, and probably will put up the retirement that this may take the baton. There's no reason whatsoever that she can't continue on two lengths above IVR benchmark. Last up Flemington, she was very, very good, and she looks like, she hasn't even got close to her peak this campaign. So good luck to the rest of those. I wish them all the best.
Barb Raider was a winner at the same meeting on March 12 at Caulfield, but you got Flying Mascot ahead of her?
I've got Flying Mascot ahead of her. Always the interesting runner. Not going to really get the speed, though, as Quantum Mechanic that gets the right rider.
Yeah. All right. You're not giving punters the permission to do the Flying Mascot Marabi double tonight?
Punters can do whatever they like. It's their money. They can invest it how they choose. Who's playing in the footy?
Tonight? Is this Buddy's night tonight?
Here's the big bud.
Swans versus Cats, I think it might be. All right. We won't look at Mornington. Obviously, we've got the Mornington Cup, actually. Let's look at the Mornington Cup quickly. 2,400 metres. Pondus 270, Crystal Pegasus 280, Sacramento 6, Defibrillate 7. It's only a field of 7, which is a bit disappointing when it's a ticket into the Caulfield Cup. But Pondus versus Crystal Pegasus. Is there one that stands out over the other, or not much between them?
Oh, the horse that you can sway left, I'll sway right. The horse that I'd be most interested out of those is Sacramento.
Okay.
Mornington, D. Oliver, Waterhouse, Mr. Bott. Dangerous horse from the front. His last start win was very good. And he's nowhere near at his max yet. So he'll be a hard horse to run down, especially in the small field that will favour him. So, he was good. Pondus, obviously, 5th best of the day, 2 lengths above at Flemington. That was excellent. Crystal Pegasus, I think he's about hit his peak. So I would have Pondus over Crystal Pegasus, but Sacramento is a dangerous runner in a race like that.
Okay, let's look at Rose Hill, because that is the Group 1 meeting for the day. I think we might stay away from race 1. It's a midway. Race 2 is a Schwepper Vessens 2-year-olds. They're not in the same league. There's probably not much between all of the 2-year-olds, including the ones that ran in the slipper. But did you have a strong opinion here at all?
No, Williamsburg was a runner that I was looking for last start, and he just went back to the inside, really didn't handle turning on the wet ground. And then his late acceleration was very good. So he's one that I could keep an eye on. He could definitely go to the level required to win, which isn't very high. The dangerous runners in this are going to be runners like Mumbai Jewel and Victorine, etc., that come off dry ground and go back to the wet. A lot of these have just repetitively been on the wet, and they're a tad slow now. So dangerous, always dangerous. Wet horses who can handle the wet, who have had several runs on the dry, don't know themselves when they go as slow as what they'll go in this. So the lactic doesn't build up as fast, and they've still got some acceleration, where the others are just naturally, they've just turned slow for the campaign.
Yeah.
No interest whatsoever.
All right, the next race, we see a number of horses clash again. Mount Popper, Skylab, Polly Gray, Yonkers. This is the Neville Selwood Stakes over 2,000 metres.
What do you reckon about this race?
I was looking for Skylab last start. You gave him a pretty good push. He ran 4th that day. Look, it's a pretty even bunch. Mount Popper's getting a little bit long in the tooth. I know he ran 2nd last start. He's obviously got a pretty good wet track indicator there. Look, he could put up, in excess of 2 lengths, and that could be good enough to win. But I don't know. Maximal's another horse that's got talent, but he was a bit too bad to be true first up, and wasn't much good in the Australian Cup either. So tough race for me.
It is. Polly Gray was disappointing last start. I expected a lot more from her. Normally thrives in these sort of conditions. Mount Popper, I thought he was there to win, and I thought he was going to win. But unfortunately for him, he found one better. He's definitely going in the right direction. He only needs to find half a length to a length to be winning. Skylab, I was keen on him last start. He just didn't really come to play. He was good. He was a pass mark without getting overly excited about him. But Mount Popper here as the horse to beat, and he doesn't have to do much to win.
The one thing I would say about Skylab, he did go from 1,400 to 2,000 metres, and maybe this subsequent run at 2,000 metres might suit him a bit better at this point of the prep. It was a big jump between distances, but not really a race I'm all that excited about. The Tulloch Stakes is race 4, 2,000 metres for the 3-year-olds. Again, this isn't the top line 3-year-olds here.
No, very plain sort of race, this one, isn't it? There's a couple of horses here.
This would be a Derby lead-up.
Yeah, there's a couple of horses here who've got sneaky little WTIs and little triggers to say that they are okay, most notably Sword Point. He's the one that I went looking for. The other horse that I thought could run a good race at a decent price was Morris Is Me Dad. Very uninteresting race. I'll be watching.
All right, the Emancipation 1500 meters. G's Anavisto was good first up, and she loves it wet. It's hard to knock her. I know Promise of Success, Nimali, Expat, Miravision, Crone, Kiku, Vangelic, More Profits. They've all got talent, but Anavisto might be that horse on just an upward trajectory.
She does. I don't think she's going to. I don't think she's seen ground as heavy as what this is. She does like wet ground, but we've said a couple of times there is a massive difference between soft ground and heavy ground in terms of their footing, their grip, how they accelerate on it, etc. So that's going to be the question mark with her. It's a lovely little race shape in terms of horses like Expat, etc., who are just Vangelic. They're just built for speed. So she's going to get a nice tag into the race. Ideal rider, ideal race shape, horse to beat. 2 watch runners here for me. Nimali, flying, dangerous in a race like this. Very dangerous. Other horse I was interested in was Miravision. If this was dry or drier, Miravision would be a very dangerous runner and very hard to beat. So I'm Anavisto, think it's the right runner, but dangerous Nimali, dangerous, and won't surprise me if Miravision wins.
Well, Nimali's 950 into 6. There has been a couple of scratchings. Obviously, Kiss on All Four Cheeks and Hungry Heart probably would have had some claims, but Nimali's been well supported there. Race 6, the Doncaster Prelude. Our Playboy is the favourite. Jamie Carr on board again. Mick Price, Mick Kent Jr., $3.50.
There's 2 Mr. Mozarts, isn't there?
I'm not sure about that. Excuse me.
There's 2 of him. There's one who just runs off on the rest of the field. Has he beaten Animo, I think, hasn't he? Has he beaten Animo?
Has he beaten Animo?
Or was that? I feel like he's beaten Animo, that horse.
He beat Artorias.
Artorias, was it? I knew he beat one of the good ones.
Yep.
Yeah, he was he just ran off. Unfortunately for those who like to follow me, I've landed on Imaging again. This is like going out to a nightclub and finding the ex-girlfriend from a couple of years back, isn't it?
9 into 550, first up here.
Yeah, 147-day break, Mr. Waller and Mr. McDonald. From an each way perspective, I landed on Imaging. Right race, right horse. Adamant that our Playboy's the horse to beat. And then you go back and you got Mr. Mozart, who's good enough. Coast Watch, don't think he gets through the ground, but he would definitely be elevated on a dry surface. And then you got Brutality. But for me, mate, it's Imaging.
All right, might be an each way bet then at 550.
Quite possibly will be.
All right, the Group 1 Tancred Stakes, 2,400 metres. Duais was awesome winning the Australian Cup. She's $2.90 from Spanish Mission at 420. Think It Over 5. She's Ideal 10. Stockman 12. Angel of Truth 18.
All I wanted to do was find Think It Over, and all I couldn't do was find Think It Over because of the ground conditions. I definitely want it to improve. Him on that fast speed last start sustained, that's going to elevate him again on the wet, so I can pick him up from his 0.6 above on the heavy from 2 starts back, so I can get him into that 1.5, 2 range, which would be good enough for him to run first 3. There are some question marks around horses like Jewish Spanish Mission. They're not. Jules went through the roof last start 2000, got into the lanes, but looked superior. Back to the wet ground, it's a pass on, if this gets into the soft range again, you can elevate it. Think It Over is going to be hard to beat. Spanish Mission to me just looks like an out and out dry tracker. I'm prepared to risk him. Then you got horses like She's Ideal, who's going to leap into contention with the ground. Probably the dark horse in the race would be Great House. He's a horse I'm not prepared to dismiss at the moment. Thought he was going to erupt last start, and he looked like he was one run away. So he's the one that I just want to. I'm just going to keep him on side. He's the one who could just knock everyone over.
I've got a little feeling about She's Ideal.
You would be on the money with that feeling that you have. Flies ground, flies wet. Good friend of the show. But saying that, when's the last time you were on? I don't know if you're welcome.
Usually when I'm on, she's no good, is she?
Yeah, but you got off. You said never again.
Yeah.
You got off. I reckon if I went through the archives of the text, we're not like, we don't have the SEN text machine or anything like that. If I went through the archives of the phone, I reckon I'd have an archive from D. Radcliffe saying never again.
Give me a little bit of entertainment here, though. 2 starts back at Randwick on the heavy, runs second to Very Elegant over 1,600 metres. She thrived in the wet, posted, I think, at 1.7 above third best of the day, which is outstanding. She went 19 and a half lengths below benchmark through the first section. And then in the Australian Cup, she's nearly been asked to go benchmark through the first section. So that's a 19 length increase in speed to the 800. What does that do to a horse between runs? And what would that mean for her coming into this race?
In between runs. So going into that race at Flemington, she obviously gave the indication that she was forward enough to be able to handle some of it. But what that does to her going from that speed, that 19 lengths below, going to that speed at Flemington, probably leaves her a little bit vulnerable late, takes the kick out of her legs. When it comes down time to sprint, that's just not going to be available. The lactic's a lot higher than what it has been at any start this campaign. But you do note the first up run, there was an 18-length squeeze in the first up run at Randwick over 1,400, took her mid-race pace to 3.6. So she had been exposed to some high lactic through the mid, but not as high as what she would have at Flemington.
Yep.
One thing that it does do, though, is she comes back to the wet ground.
Yep.
She's had the big run on the dry track, so she's been out there, she's run fast.
Yep.
And there's every indication that if there's a natural race pace in a race like this, that they're still going to go in that -10 or worse zone.
Agree. Yep.
If they're very controlled, they'll get back down into that 15, 16 lengths below. She's not going to know herself. You got a horse like Spanish Mission who would typically be flat coming off a run like off the Flemington run.
Yeah.
There's a big chance that he would be flat. He's gone 9.4 lengths above through the first section. If they go 15 lengths below here,
it'll be like a trial.
Control things in the front. He's going to go 25 lengths slower through the first section. That's going to enable him to sprint.
Yeah.
So, they're the little technicalities where race shape, particularly early race shape, where a lot of people don't pay any attention to it. They're very focused on what happens late, but real focus on the last 200. That's where you can get some massive advantages with the early speed focus and understanding what it does to a horse. If this was dry, this would be a completely different race. But definitely 100% She's Ideal is a horse that I've got. She's marked right there because it's very easy to knock Think It Over and Jewess, who are going to dominate the market. It's very easy to knock Spanish Mission. This could be a knockout job. Yeah,
and when you got Jewess at 290 and She's Ideal 250 the place, $10 a win. I know we know she handles the wet. She showed it 2 starts back. I'd be keen to play her smaller win, bigger the place, because I think the race shape will suit, and most races are won by race shape, aren't they? Next start is the Group 1 Vinery Stud Stakes, 2,000 metres for the 3-year-old fillies. Hinged is 380. Gypsy Goddess 440. Fangirl at 650. Pretty Amazing's won 3 in a row for Chris Waller at 750. Never Been Kissed is 950. Yearning, the 1,000 guineas winner, is $13.
Gypsy Goddess won like the reincarnation of Farlap in its last start against some real plotters at Doomben, or Eagle Farm. Sorry, I apologise. I think it was Eagle Farm that I'm talking about. The performance was good. In terms of a typical mile, it was nowhere near what the margin said it was. It's another one where a margin's going to play this up a little bit. She's very, very progressive. She'll get the 2,000 metres. She'll get the 2,000 plus. Little question mark with her on the conditions. She hasn't really been exposed to this level of wet track. So, interesting runner. The hype, not going to buy the hype until she does it with these against this slot. The X Factor runner is the one that you've mentioned, who's had 3 starts for 3 wins or whatever you said, which was pretty amazing, which was the Waller JMac runner. It's got some upside. It's the one to me that just sticks out and says, look at me, I'm pretty good. So that's the horse that I marked on top from Hinged and Fangirl. But it's a very good race. That one I've got to work out. I'd rather it on a dry ground. But the one who could jump out of the ground's Never Been Kissed.
Yep.
But for me, I've got a big X factor on that runner of JMac.
All right. And then the race 9, the Security Star Kingdom, Maltai, is 290, Gravina 390. Quantico 9 was disappointing in the Newmarket. Splintex 12, Exoboom 12.
Was that the biggest trial winner ever, or was that the biggest trial winner ever?
Maltai.
Yeah,
it's pretty impressive. I think he likes the wet.
Yeah, he's just a trial star. He's got X factor. I've been trying to. His debut performance at Ipswich said that he was a little bit of a rock and roll sort of horse, and then he was playing for a number of runs, and then he was back in action at Randwick in his latest start. He's a little bit untapped, but he's nowhere near as good as what the trial wants to indicate that he is. I can definitely forgive Gravina, and it's a horse that I will be looking at from an each way perspective. In particular, the place. Hard to miss a top 3 finish.
All right.
What did you think?
I haven't delved too deep into this race. Obviously, Quantico is very talented, but all of his starts basically have been on good. The 2 soft runs he hasn't placed, and he hasn't run on the heavy, which is hard to get excited. Splintex is a horse that does like it heavy. He came out of that race between 4, Eduardo Shelby 66, Nature Strip. He ran 4th that day on the heavy, over 1,000 metres. He could improve and be a place hope, I guess. Maltai and Gravina deserve their spot at the top of the market. So it would take a little bit more work to settle on Splintex as a betting option, I think.
I'll ask you one more question before we finish up. Take the age hat, newspaper hat off, and put on the P. Volandis hat for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
How long is it going to take till you start getting a bit concerned about all these majors running on bottomless tracks all the
time? Well, it can't be good. It can't be good for wagering for starters, and I think that's clearly a priority of Peter Volandis. He'll be watching the wagering numbers and having a look to see how much impact it has. But Yeah, the form. Yep, a lot of favourites have been winning. Animo got up. Very Elegant got knocked off last week, but you'd like to see, you'd like to see a track that handles the wet a lot better in Sydney than these tracks do. They're just constantly wet, aren't they? And it must be mentally tough on the jockeys to constantly ride on wet. And I think it does take away from the racing that you're putting a pen through 75% of the form guide because a number of horses won't handle these conditions. So it's been a little bit disappointing, to be honest.
When so much money, I sit down and have a look, and we've gone through a whole autumn carnival where, we've including a golden slipper, where, the premium purchases of 2 years back or a year back haven't seen dry ground.
Yeah.
We don't really know how good those 2-year-olds are.
Mm.
We've got no idea. They're going to come out as a fresh batch of 3-year-olds, never have seen a dry racetrack. It's going to be spanner in the works all over again. To me, it's fascinating. And, I asked the question, do you, if you want to be the prime state, there's nothing between Melbourne and Sydney when it comes to who's better than who. It's, they're definitely locking horns. Is there any thought process on possibly having a track with 2 hours south of Sydney that we've got as a get out of jail card where we can run on some dry ground if they're going to get tracks like this every autumn? Because it's very disappointing to put a race card up like last week and then pull it up again today, and it's just bottomless racing.
Yeah, I don't know of any plans like that. Obviously, Kembla and Newcastle are a couple of their backup tracks, but it looks like, or provincial tracks, but it looks like Racing New South Wales is looking to invest in training centres rather than new race tracks. But I think at some point they have to accept that their tracks just don't drain well enough, that their entire autumn carnival is often dominated by rain, and they need to come up with a better solution for drainage, because we know in Melbourne, and even look at places like Sha Tin, they're world class. They can have a typhoon one day and they're racing on a good track the next day. So something should be done about it. But I don't like getting too political or newsy on this show, mate. I'm happy just trying to help the punter find a winner. Thanks for your time today, mate. I'll get this up now. It's nearly 6 o'clock, so the punters can watch your or get your thoughts on tonight's William Reid, and then obviously they can get out their pen and pencil and mark a few in the form guide for Rose Hill tomorrow. But appreciate your time, mate. I'll chat to you soon.
We didn't have enough time to review my eagle on the last from the golf day, but we'll do that on the next show.
All right, sounds good. Good on you, Hayden. Hayden Byrne from Daily Sectionals, Damien Rackliffe from The Age. Thanks for tuning in, Next Geners.
Bye for now.